lunchtime, Roxy.
You mean good dinner time, Tam. We're getting to the dinner hour over here.
I
How about
honestly
you?
feel like I haven't spoken to you in so long. I'm sorry if guys, if this is a little echoey. I'm in my new Airbnb in the middle of Melbourne. So I have to set up a studio here. But I feel like I haven't talked to you in like forever.
Oh my God, Tammin, it's been like probably 6 weeks since we
Mhm.
recorded. Like, because we banked so many towards the end of the year last year. We were like,
I know. To
good
give
to
ourselves a little break, guys. So we bank so that we can give a little bit of a break, some self-care.
right. So we'll rest our voices for you guys.
Rest our voices. Yeah, it's just been, I don't know, like how do you feel like January for me, like I want to like get going for the year, but I
Mhm.
feel like it's just like all sort of you're just kind of getting December sorted out and paying
Mm,
bills for December. Like it never feels like, you know, how it's like, oh, it's a new year. And like we're
mm,
gonna, so much is good is gonna happen and so much work is gonna happen. It's kind of like it starts off really intensely. I feel like every January because people are like back to the races and want to
mhm,
work. But then like it kind of slows down. I
mhm.
feel, I don't know about your business and industry, but it kind of like slows down and then it kind of picks back up again. So I don't know, how's January been for you?
Oh my God, Tammin, it has been, well, we came back obviously from like the holiday and everything up, back to like Omicron Central. So basically all of
Mm-hmm.
my, like so many work things that I had planned have gotten canceled. Like
Mm-hmm.
Sundance got canceled and like Grammys got pushed and like all these different award shows and big kind of events have gotten like, pushed to the side or canceled completely. So I am like, what is going on? So I'm just sort of now playing it day by day, because I think going into the new year, I was really excited about like,
Yeah,
things going down and happening and, really being able to get back out there, especially doing a lot of like red carpet and
absolutely.
events. But now, I feel like we're sort of back to 2020 in a weird way because it's like things are getting canceled. Like
Hmm.
we had an event last night that was all on Zoom. Like one of the award shows from Sundance decided to carry on, but they did it, safely over Zoom. So now we're sort of back
Hmm.
in that weird, like where we're doing like
Yeah.
things on Zoom a lot now again. And it's like, I feel like we're regressing a little bit, you know?
Yeah, it's, because Australia was like this, middle of nowhere place where, we were able to there was no COVID here because
Right.
everything was completely shut out. So, like, there was no COVID. We were able to live a completely normal life. Like, all the borders were shut, which wasn't great because obviously we didn't get to see my parents. But what was great about it was that, we didn't have to worry about COVID. We didn't have to worry about masks. We didn't have to worry about anything. And then they made a decision around January just before the holidays, and they decided to open the borders. They decided to get vaccination rates up to, we're at like 95% vaccination in Australia, which is
Oh,
really high.
wow.
Yeah, where we are, I think is like 96% or something
Mm,
crazy. So what they said is they're going to get the vaccination rates up really high, and then they were going to open the borders. And it was just fascinating because the minute they opened those borders, we went from zero cases to like 20,000 cases a day. I think where we're at right now is about 40,000 cases a day. And remember, Australia is like, I think it's 30 million, the population. So it's like we're much
yeah.
smaller than the US and we're still having those cases. The good news is because the vaccination rates are so high, there's very little people who are going to the hospital.
Mm,
So that is a positive. But I
mm,
think the whole point is like once Omicron comes in, because we are seeing vaccinated people getting it, they're just not getting as sick. um you know we're seeing like I know 25 people who have it right now.
oh my God. It's everywhere. It's rampant. It's like all over the place. It's all over school, I mean, just
Yeah, yeah.
every day. And it's sort of like, I don't know. I feel like, and tell me if you feel like this too. We're sort of at this place where it's like we've come so far and we've, been able to kind of figure out a way, a little bit of living
Mm-hmm.
with it, versus
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
100% shutting down again. That I feel like, I don't know. I feel like hopefully it'll start declining soon here in Los Angeles. But like
Mm-hmm.
while it's still high, I mean, I feel like we're sort of trying to maneuver around it a little bit while being safe, of course,
Yeah,
keeping
yeah, yeah,
masked
yeah.
and everything. But I don't know. I feel like in some ways, I feel like we still have to kind of try to make our way through it. I mean, while being careful. How do you feel
Mm-hmm.
about it?
Yeah, I don't feel the fear like when COVID first, came about. I feel like there
Mhm,
was so many unanswered, like so many. There was no answers for a lot of
mhm.
this, and we didn't have a lot of information. We didn't have a lot of data. Like we've been in this now for 2 years, so
Ugh.
we do know what is looking like it's working, what isn't working. It does look like masks definitely help.
Mm,
So I think that like the fear is there, but we know how to protect ourselves, and
yeah.
we know what happens. Like when you do get it, like what do you do? Like what's the protocol? So I don't feel as afraid, but the lack of fear might also be from just being exhausted by it. We
Mhm,
we all have, they call it COVID fatigue. It's like you kind of know that it's still there and it could be dangerous, and that
mhm,
if someone in your family got it, you don't know if it's going to go down
mhm,
great, but you're just so exhausted by the constant like overthinking and the fear and the checking and the cleaning and that we've kind of like, a lot of people have just kind of, that vigilance has
mhm,
gone down because we're just tired. We're
mhm,
tired and we're worn out from it. Like I feel like me, like I'm in Melbourne here doing
mhm,
a TV show, and I'm exercising at this place called F45, which is
mhm,
amazing. And it's a really hard workout. Like it's a circuit workout, and it's a lot of breathing and cardio and weights. And I am the only person that has my mask on. And I'm
mhm.
like, I don't care. I don't
Wow.
care if I look like the weirdo in the room. Like, I want to
Uh-huh.
give myself at least some kind of layer of protection
Right.
so that when I go home to my family, like I just wouldn't forgive myself if it was like I could have just worn a mask in the exercise class. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not comfortable. It
Mhm,
doesn't feel good. But I was thinking about this the other day, like, because I know some people are like, well, masks don't work or they do work, and there's that whole debate. But my question is like, if they don't work,
mhm,
then you're uncomfortable and that sucks. But
mhm,
if they do work, you could have saved someone's life.
mhm.
So is
It
it worth being uncomfortable for the off chance that you could save someone's life?
right, it seems like a very small price to pay, to
Mhm.
to wear a mask, and it's not I mean, it's not that restrictive. It's not as if it's like
Kind
a
of like it
full
now.
body.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
no. It
when
actually
I
in
don't wear it, I'm like, this is so weird.
actually in the winter, it keeps my face warm when I'm outside and if it's windy and a little bit
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
chilly.
yeah. And
It's a
you don't have
nice
to you don't have to look at people. I don't have to
no.
smile. It's so great.
Yeah. And I can just do my makeup up to my eyes and like
I know.
the
I'm
rest
like, I
of
don't
it.
even have to look good. It's great. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's very, to me, I feel like, in my opinion, it is a small price to pay to wear a mask. I feel like it's a smart thing to do. And I might even do it after COVID is over during flu season. Like, if,
Yeah.
I mean, just to protect myself, because I personally am somebody that is not good when they're sick. I'm not good being down and out. Like, I'm miserable. I'm not a like fun person to be around. I hate the
Hmm.
feeling. So I'd rather not get sick, and like not even just with COVID, with anything, with the flu, with the cold, with any of it. How about you? Are you a good like when you get sick? Are you pretty chill about it?
I honestly don't get that sick, like
Okay.
ever. I feel like the last time I got a flu was
Uh-huh.
when Phoenix was 2.
Oh, so it's been
She's
some good.
8.
Oh, wow.
I have, but I
6 years?
don't do the flu shot. And then maybe I should do the flu shot. I don't do the flu shot
Mhm.
because I haven't really had the flu. Really, if I
Oh,
was getting the flu every year, like my husband gets the flu shot, but that's because every single year he gets the flu.
that yeah, he gets the flu shot and gets the flu every year? Or no, he gets
I think so.
I love
But
it.
maybe it wouldn't be, maybe it's not as bad as it could have been.
Yeah, yeah, maybe it like takes it down a notch.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
might actually be a good idea for him to continue doing because of his COVID, spell that he had. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe that is good
Mm-hmm.
for him to get both.
Yeah, so he does. Do you guys get the flu shot?
So I don't get the flu shot because it's made with eggs, so I'm allergic to it. So I
Interesting.
know, unfortunately, I would get it if I could, just to have the extra
Yeah, yeah,
protection.
yeah. Is there an eggless one? Is there a vegan
I
flu
need to
shot?
check into that. I just go every year, and my doctor's like, "Yeah, you can't have it because it's made with egg." I'm like, "Who knew?"
Yeah,
But
and why
my
egg?
yeah, why egg? I think it's like something to do with like how it's
The
housed, like how it keeps
binding.
like yeah, it's like some
Yeah,
weird
yeah.
thing like that. David does not get the flu shot, but our daughter does get the flu shot every year, especially these last couple years, because
Interesting.
our
Hmm.
pediatrician was like, before like the COVID vaccine, before she was able to get that, he's
Hmm.
like, it's a good layer of protection just for her to have the flu shot, just in case,
Interesting.
because once their immune systems are run down from one illness, they can,
Hmm.
get another one a little easier. So he's like, just
Yeah.
do the flu shot. So we did. We gave her the flu shot. She didn't have any, any reaction or anything to it. How about with you
No.
guys?
Yeah, no, Phoenix doesn't do the
Yeah.
flu shot. She's vaccinated
Hmm.
pretty much for everything. I think we're a little behind with certain things just because COVID.
Yep.
She probably like needs a fourth shot. Lennon is so behind. I mean, I think she's only had two shots her entire life just
Hmm.
because she was under 1 year old when COVID hit, and we were vaccinating on a very slow schedule. Like,
Hmm.
I believe in science, I believe that they work, but I don't, for me personally, I think giving 4 to 5 vaccines at once for me makes just doesn't make any logical sense for their little bodies.
Hmm.
So I've always done like one, waited a few months,
Right.
one, waited a few months. And I guess there's risk in that. But for me, that feels a lot, makes more sense to me.
Hmm.
Um, so we had done one, waited a few months, and then kind of COVID hit. And then just everything was kind of shut down. I didn't feel comfortable her going anywhere. But then, she's been pretty safe because she hasn't been she hasn't gone, she's been maybe for a walk.
Yeah.
She's not obviously in preschool or daycare or anything.
Yeah. So okay, got it. So it's like, that makes sense though, to do like the slower schedule. We did that with Bray too, because it's like, let their bodies sort of get through it and, let them kind of process it, but still get it
Mm-hmm.
for them so they're protected. But I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
interesting because our kids did get the COVID vaccine. And I know a lot of people, they were saying a lot
Mm-hmm.
of parents here, I don't know how it is in Australia, but in the States, a lot of parents have not taken advantage of getting their kids the COVID vaccine. So
And
they're,
look, I
mhm,
understand the fear. I get it. Like some I as everything that I've read, because I try to really read peer-reviewed studies and
mhm,
data from people who have spent their whole lives in medicine and science. And yeah, a vaccine injury can happen. I think that
mhm,
that's the first. I think a lot of this debate comes, and like a lot of this anger from both sides comes from like feeling like people aren't heard.
mhm,
And so I think it's important, like for us all to get on the same page, we have to have the conversations and have the debates or whatever. They
mhm.
can be heated, but let's not like name call.
Right.
But it's coming out of fear, right? And everything is coming out of fear of COVID, fear of the vaccine. It's all based in fear.
Mhm,
So what I say to that is like, yes, there definitely is a chance that your kid could be vaccine injured, and there have been vaccine injuries.
mhm,
Doctors and scientists will say that. But I also believe like what works for me and how I make my decisions is based on risk analysis.
mhm,
And I look at risk analysis and I think they're saying it's like 1 in a million chance that your kid can be vaccine injured, which means just say every kid in the world got the COVID vaccine. There'd probably be, I think, like, I don't know, like 5,000 people that would be
mhm,
vaccine injured. And that's a lot of people, right? But if 1% of the population died, that would be 17 million people dead.
mhm,
So based in that fact, that is why I decided to get my kid vaccinated, is because of the risks, the long-term risks, which are worse than the vaccine long-term risks, is what I'm seeing.
mhm,
And so that's where I make my decisions, is based on like, sure, can it happen to you? Absolutely.
mhm,
Is it likely? No.
mhm. Right. Agreed.
And
Agreed.
no, and I was nervous.
Yeah.
I got Phoenix vaccinated. I was so nervous that something would happen. It took a second. She didn't even feel it, and she's fine. And again, it's based in fear, but unless we talk about people's fears and they don't feel heard, then we're just going to be at an impasse forever.
Yes. Agreed. And I think you're very right when you say it's about the risk analysis too. It's like, if you're going to take one set of percentages and things that could possibly happen, you really have to weigh it against the other side and also take like the percentages and the risks and what could possibly happen and
Mhm.
make the most educated, decision that you can. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of times what happens is people start looking at one percentage, they are one number, and they get really scared,
And the
which
voices are loud.
right.
Of
And the
course they are,
voices are
because if
loud.
my kid was
Yes.
vaccine injured, my voice would be fucking loud too.
Yes, yes,
Do you know what I mean?
100%. Yes. And people hear one thing and then they get so scared. And then, you keep hearing things after that and more, and it snowballs. And then people get frozen and they don't want to, either don't do something or
Mhm.
maybe do something that they didn't originally plan on doing. And so you're right that it is important to talk about it. Like we have to talk about all these things and suss them out. That's why I thought the Nini and the Brain, the lady that we had, Nini
Oh,
Munoz,
she's so great.
wasn't she so good that came
Mhm.
on our podcast and she explained, the data and the risk analysis of COVID and the vaccine and all of
Mhm.
these really, really interesting, health issues. So yeah, I thought she explained it really well.
I think we've also forgotten, which I mean, I haven't been in a science class for like 20 years, but I think we've also forgotten the basic science of what a vaccine does and what it
Yes.
is and how your own natural immune system creates antibodies against. I think the spike protein is what
Mhm.
something about the spike protein is what's given to you, and so your body's like, oh fuck, what is that? Creates antibodies that scientifically and data has proved is way more than if you just get COVID. And so what happens is when your body then comes into contact with COVID, it's like, oh, I recognize you, right?
Mhm.
I recognize you. I have antibodies to fight you so you don't get as ill. And I think that's the
Mhm.
point. I think that there's a lot of debate about like, well, if you get the vaccine, you can still get COVID. Sure. But I think I think the whole
Mhm.
point of a vaccine is to keep you out of the hospitals, to keep
Right.
you out of being sick. And the thing is, like, it's a Russian roulette, right?
Mhm.
Some people, it's just like a cold and it's just
Yeah.
like the flu. And they're so lucky. They're lucky that, if I drove to Kohl's right now without my seatbelt on and I didn't get hit, I'd be super lucky, right?
Mhm.
But if on the off chance I did get hit and I didn't have my seatbelt on, it's going to be way worse than if I did.
Mhm.
And it's just a risk. It's a risk that the Russian roulette chance of life of like, okay, I'm willing to risk that.
Mhm.
And so for me too, and I'm going to ask you this, like, do you find it hard when friends are on the other side of the conversation? Like, because what I want to talk about this podcast, because we love everyone like from all sides. And I think it's important to say that like you're safe here. And like, if you haven't got the vaccine, you're safe with us. Like
Mhm.
we just want to, I want to find out like how you converse with people who are on the other side than you are.
So, it's so interesting that you say that because, we went through the initial, vaccine process. David and I, we, got both of our vaccines. But then when it sort of came time for our daughter, who's 7, to get the vaccine, we really sort of went back and forth with it. We really kind of were talking about it. And then, like we were saying before about hearing sort of external people talking and things like that, we started getting a little bit clouded, like with our
Yeah.
process. You know what I mean? We started
And it takes a
listening.
big person to admit that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like a lot of people don't say that.
Yes, 100%. I'll be the first to admit it. We definitely we actually had a debate between he and I about getting her vaccinated. We came to sort of like this disagreement and we really had to kind of peel back the layers a little bit. And there were arguments and there was definitely, tension because, we had two differing sort of opinions for a while. And it wasn't until we really talked about it. I mean, it was even after she got the first vaccine, like just until this last week when she got the second vaccine, like we really had to like suss it out and kind of come to an agreement. And
so you would have gotten her first vaccine and then maybe not the second.
that's kind of like actually before that, even we were in disagreement about getting her vaccinated at all.
Of course, yeah. But would you have stopped at one?
I would have gone for the second one. I think David would have been a little more like, let's wait it out and let's play it out, and see like how the next like month or two goes. And there is literature out there that, I mean, I don't know if it's valid or not, but there is literature that says, you can let them build immunity, a couple months down the road and then think about getting the second one. It's all over the place. I think that's what the problem is too. So we really had to, even just between the two of us, like kind of come to an understanding. And like I said, the timing, I mean, it was literally just this past week, you know, and
Mhm.
I sort of made the step to take her to get vaccinated, you know, like,
Mhm. Mhm.
and it was fine because it happened. I think he was just really worried about what could, you know, like her reaction to it, and like
Mhm.
what it could do to her and all this stuff. But then I
Mhm.
think when he saw her okay,
Fine.
yeah, exactly,
Mhm.
then he was more put at ease with it. But it is
Mhm.
a concerning thing when you're a parent, you know. You don't, I think for us too, for David and I, like, we're more willing to sort of put our bodies out there, like, to test
Right.
something more, you
Right.
know, than
Right.
to have
Right.
our child, you know, like, out there doing it. But it was the right decision for us to get her vaccinated.
And
Oh,
hard on
yeah,
friendships. I
it's
definitely
really
have a
hard.
friend who's
Yeah.
that for me,
Mm,
I'm cool with someone saying like I don't feel comfortable, safe, and these are the reasons,
mhm.
long-term effects, great. When it starts to go down a very almost illogical path, like
Right.
on the tip of the needles or a mic, like how big is the needle?
Yeah.
Firstly, it was so small I couldn't even feel it. Microchip going into my arm, and then um things like I thought, oh yeah, that's so we had someone in our life saying that if I was vaccinated and I was near someone else, it could come off my skin onto them. Just like
What?
these things are just don't like when it starts to go down that road, I don't know
Right.
how to communicate. And that's something that I need to learn too, because like I want to be able to communicate with my friends and I want to be able to have these debates. And, a lot of people are feeling like very divided in this
Mhm.
whole circumstance, and they've, losing family members and losing friends. And
Mm.
it is sad. Like, but my husband's always been the guy that says, like, nothing's going to change if we're constantly at war with each other in
Yep.
our own opinions and thoughts and,
Mhm.
ideas. Like, the only way to change is to listen and to find out why someone feels the way that they do
Mhm.
and where their fear is coming from. Because I am the kind of person who's just like, oh, fuck it. I don't want to be in that, but I don't want to talk about it. Like, like my opinion is right.
Mhm.
But all it does is like, it just doesn't move us forward. And I
Mm.
feel like, especially right now in the United States, like we are so divided with our opinions. And a lot of them are opinions, right? They're not fact, they're opinions. And I always say opinions are like assholes, everyone has them. But like, if you're going to have an opinion, you need to back it up with data, with
Mm.
fact, with peer reviewed studies. But we're on these opposing sides, and it's just going to get worse. It's going to
Yeah.
get worse before. And if you believe in what the Bible says, like, it says this in the Bible too,
Mm.
there will be this divide,
Mhm.
and it's like we've had this many times in history, and we're reliving history
Mhm.
again. And I don't believe it's going to get better. I believe it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Oh God, I hate that because it's like I feel like we've come through, and you're right, it's like different points in history, but like I remember like growing up, I feel like, you know, even though people had differing, like, let's say political views or views on, you know, health or what have you, like there was a way to kind of talk it out. And it was much seemed much more civil than it does now, where it almost is violent, you know, and people are, the divide is so deep that I feel like back, you know, back then maybe there was a way to bridge, you know, the two differing sides and come together in some way. But now I feel like there's not even a bridge at this point, you know?
And I feel like social media has also made it worse. Like,
Mm,
I was gonna do this TikTok the other day, and I'm probably gonna do it, but I'm gonna try to make it funny. But I was like,
mm,
when did grown ass people like get online and bully other people? Like, it's
yeah.
just so, I find it so childish. Like, why are we still so stuck in that child mentality? And I look, logically, I know through years of therapy that when somebody feels a lot of fear,
Mhm.
then they go back to like the time in their life where they felt that the most fear, and normally it's around
Oh,
childhood, so they
okay.
go back to that. So like for me, like I feel like maybe when I started to become successful in like entertainment, that's probably when I felt my most fear and perfect. So I go back to being about 16, 17, kind of that bitchy teenager. My
Oh,
husband had more of a harder upbringing, so
mhm.
he's probably like 5 years old. So when he goes through things of great fear, he kind of just like leaves, like a 5-year-old would just kind of storm out the door, and I become like a bitchy teenager. It's normally when you feel your most fears what you revert back to, like that age. And so I feel like because there's so much fear right now in the world that like everyone's acting like children. Like we're online and we're like, you're ugly, you're fat, you're a piece of shit, I want to come over and like hurt your family. It's just like we're adults. Like we are adults, and we like say to our children, like treat people with respect and have an open conversation and debate, and that's fine, and like listen and hear people out. And then like people go online and they're just like, meh, I hate you, you need to die. It's like I when you really think about the concept, you're like, really?
Seriously. And who has the time to do this? And
like you're at your high powered job and like you've got 50 executives underneath you, and then you go home and you're like, you should die, you should hate yourself. It's like, who's doing this? And you know what is also disturbing about that is that I bet there are a lot of them are parents that are doing it. Of course they are. And then like when you go to their profile, it's like love, light, and being, and mama of 2 and 2 fur babies, and you're like, but you're horrible to me online.
Yes. And that's how miserable they are. If they're putting that much sort of time and effort and energy into like harassing somebody. It's just like channel that fear into something else, or figure out where that fear is coming from and peel back.
They don't have the tools. People don't go to therapy. They don't find out, like, it's still such a taboo. It's like we exercise for our bodies, and we do all these things for our health. And then we go, oh, mental health. We go, no, I don't need a therapist. There's nothing wrong with us. But therapy is just figuring out the way that your brain works so that you can function in the world in a better place.
Yes. It's mental fitness. Yes. Yeah. You know what is so funny, Tam? I was talking to some friends, like this was probably last year. And this was when David and I had first started couples therapy. And it was actually one of his friends. And I was like, oh yeah, it's so great. David and I are doing therapy. I guess he hadn't like told the friend or anything, but I know, because like, why would I feel like guys don't like talk about that so openly.
And they're like, what, therapy?
Yeah. He was like, oh yeah, that's really good. But my wife and I have never done that because we don't need it. And I was like, you probably do need
Everyone needs it. If you're fighting, if you're feeling like there's some kind of divide in like Sean and I just started therapy again, and it's been so great. Like we don't fight during the week because we fight in therapy. I love it. I like write everything down for the week. I'm like, fucking talking about this, fucking talking about this, fucking talking about this. But I'm not going to fight with you right now. I'm going to fight with you in fucking therapy.
I love it. You're like,
she can say I'm right.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm so glad you guys restarted it, because it really is so good.
Do you go every week?
I go every week. So I was doing it singly. So David, okay, so here's what happened. So David and I were doing couples therapy. Then I went off on my own and I started doing therapy by myself. Now David, and this is big because he's never done this. He's doing his own therapy.
Good. I need your therapist, by the way. Yes, I don't have a single one. I keep asking, and then don't ever save the number.
You will love him. He's on Zoom, so it's perfect.
Okay, good.
But yeah, so he started singly doing therapy this last week because he has some things he wants to, kind of overcome. And so I was really proud. So we both sort of are on these, paths. We want to kind of get better ourselves. And
you have to before you can come into a couple. Yeah. Because a lot of our shit, a lot of my husband and I shit is communication. Yeah. And it's because we bring our own past trauma into every situation. So he'll say something, I'll be like, oh my God, he doesn't love me. And then I'll lash out. And then he'll be like, oh my God, she's lashing out. And then, do you know what I mean? It's all the stuff that we both deal with separately. Yes. And then we kind of bring it into our relationship. And it's just really frustrating.
Really frustrating. And you know what else too? We had this talk this past week, and I said to him, I go, you know what? Because I've really had to work on this too myself. I said, you cannot love somebody else unless you love yourself first. And I think for him, that was a big eye opener because he's just used to not really thinking about that. And and just kind of doing, whatever external things he's doing and not really taking the time for himself. And I'm like, you need to like love yourself first,
I need to be kinder to myself. I just realized there's such like, my manifestation game has been off this month. I think it's just like, it's hard. it's hard to manifest good things when like you're constantly like there's just so much chaos all the time, but
Right.
that's when you're supposed to do it. And I just find like I do have a lot of negative self-talk, and I think
Yeah.
that isn't healthy at all.
What like
You
brought
know,
it back? What like brought it more like to the forefront, like as far as like your
I
negative
don't
talk?
really, you know, I'm not anywhere close than I used to be. I used to
Right.
be really bad, like, you know, you're a piece of shit type talk.
Mhm.
Now it's just more like, oh, your stomach, like we're gonna have to deal with that at some point. Or like,
Mhm.
oh, you're getting old. Like in a few years, you'll be old. Like all these.
Girl, you've got some time.
I feel old though.
What old in what way? Like old compared to other people, or old in general, or old like what feels
I
old?
just feel like I want to be in my 20s. It just seemed like you know what, I probably was more unhappy in my 20s, that's for sure, but I just
Yeah.
felt like, you know, again, you know, because of my issues, like I put a lot of weight in like how I feel like I look, or you
Mhm.
wouldn't you wouldn't know that today, or like my job, because like
See,
that
there
to
you go. You
me,
just said
yeah,
it. You wouldn't know today.
I'm
You
saying because
just
it's gross.
no, because you're saying no, because you look good. I mean, are you saying
No,
because
I'm saying because I look gross.
no, you're not, but that's it. See, that's the negative
Negative
talk.
self-talk. I'm like,
Yes.
you know, I care about what I look like. You wouldn't notice that today.
See, you did it again.
I know. Look at this mom bun.
Girl, we have not, this is how we live. We live in mom butts. It's like we can't
I
get
just
away from
when I talk to you, I'm like, oh, that's right, you're in a mom bun. I just saw that.
yeah. Hello.
I just couldn't give two shits, you know.
No, but there should be, especially amongst friends, there shouldn't
For
be like
women,
a
I think it's
yeah.
yeah. I think for women, it's hard getting older because, and I said this, I had this
Mhm.
conversation with Sean. And I said, like, why do women start to become invisible when they get older? Like, and I don't need a guy to walk past me and be like, oh, she's hot. Like, I don't need that.
Right.
But I want to feel like, why do I want to feel pretty? Like, why do I
Because
want to feel attractive? Like, why? But what is it
but
about society that has told me that I need to look young and pretty all the time? Like, I can't stand what society, what we've
mhm,
all done to each other. And then we've got young girls who are going to feel this way about themselves. Like, women, like, you look at Sex and the City,
mhm,
it's like by not doing anything, it's just so fascinating. You look at
mhm,
Sarah Jessica Parker, and the narrative is like, look at her, she's aging so fast, she hasn't done any, like she's never had Botox, so like look
mhm,
at her, and she's having gray hair. And then you look at the other one, Kristen, and you're
mhm.
like, you know, I can't believe she's had so many fillers. So it's like, no matter where you sit, you
Mm,
can't win. If you get work done, then it's like, look at her, she's had work done. I
mm.
guess I guess the thing is to probably just get good work. I don't know. Like I don't know what is society asking us to do? Grow old
Yeah.
gracefully or get work done? Because both don't seem to work for the narrative.
Yeah, I feel like there is a groundswell. I mean, I think the messaging is still off because we're not there yet. I mean, we're still
Hmm.
seeing images of, women having,
They're like
try
body positivity, but we're
right.
only going to show people on billboards that even if someone's body is larger, they're
Uh-huh.
still photoshopped.
Right, right,
Do you know what I mean?
right.
Their bruises are taken off, or their dimple, what are their cellulite? It's
Mhm.
still photoshopped.
It's still photoshopped. So the messaging, it's like almost like a light, like they're trying to be like body positivity light. You know what I
Or
mean?
like body positivity if I feel comfortable with it.
Yes, yes, yes. That's it. That's it. They're like, we don't want to make, this could be uncomfortable to some people to see like how a woman naturally looks in
Yeah. And
her
that gets taken down
body.
on social
Yeah.
media
I mean, that's
all the
just,
time. You see, you go to these accounts, you'll see
I
women
mean,
in literally like a
nothing.
straw over their
Yes.
vagina, and
Yes.
it'll be like nothing gets taken down, totally
Mhm.
fine. And you see a larger lady with like everything out, living her glory, and those videos get blocked.
Mhm.
I'm not joking, like they get blocked.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why? What is the threat? Like, why are people?
Because there's phobia around it. There's phobia around looking at women that aren't what society sees as perfect. We
Mm,
can't do it. We can't visualize, we can't see it because we've been pushed so many of those images, those perfection images out, that when we see something that to our own eye that isn't perfect, we can't stomach it. But like, look at what it used to be like in the Renaissance. Like, we used to have these larger, voluptuous women. The women that were like too thin, as they would say back there, weren't considered sexy. So it's like, it's changed. The narrative has changed, but we can't stomach what a normal woman looks like.
Well, then how are we going to deprogram this? I mean, it's like, because that
starts with the higher ups. It starts with everyone, like every magazine person, every person who like runs a website, every, you know, these social media apps, like, you know, we all shouldn't look. I use those filters half the time. Sometimes I make sure that I use them only half the time, because I feel like if I use them all the time, that I am sending out a bad message. So I use them half the time. But when I'm using them because I feel shit about myself. I'm not using them because I'm like, you know, oh, I want to like make you think I look this way. I use them because I don't like what I look like in that day.
Right. I mean, it's so hard. There's just so many different levels and so many different angles. And it's like, yes, we have to get the higher ups to like change the way that they view, you know, what they see as marketable and what they think can make money. I mean, in all actuality, I mean, really, if you put somebody who looks like a real person, especially in clothes, to me, that seems like it would sell more than,
I don't think so,
like a real thin model. But like, when I look, okay, maybe this is just me, but when I look at a fashion magazine and I see like, you know, a Cindy Crawford or somebody, you know, like who is a traditional, like beautiful model, like tall and thin, like however, you know, that image is, I know that when I am looking at clothes on somebody like that, or Kaya Gerber, let's even say, I know that is not going to look like that on me. Like, I just know in my head and my heart that it is not going to look like that on me. I'm not like a 5'11", you know, 100-pound model. So to me, like when I look at some of these other websites, because some of these other websites are doing it, where they'll have like the model, but then they'll have like somebody maybe a little more curvy or somebody a little shorter, or, you know, they'll kind of do side by side photos. So you can see the same garment, but on different body types, which to me is more sellable than if it's just on like the one kind of model type. I mean, I
think these people are trying to sell aspiration. And I think that's the biggest issue. I don't think, look, if some of those websites are doing it that way, then that's great. But I think the majority of it is selling aspiration, is selling something that you will never, like, there's certain things about my body that I'll never look like a certain person, because that's just not the way my metabolism works. My body, no matter how much I work out or whatever, I'm not going to be this like tall, like ripped with like tons of muscle mass. That's just not gonna be me. And yet when I see that, there's an aspiration element to it where I go, oh, I should buy the protein powder. I should, you know, go work out at the new hot workout class. I should go maybe down the line, like get my tummy tuck or whatever it is, because they sell the idea of like, this is aspiration, this is perfection. And then what's coupled with that, which I think is the most dangerous part, is it's like, when you get here, you'll be happy. That's what they're selling. They're selling happiness, right? You will be happy once you get this body and this thing. And so we will do anything we can, buy it, diet it, starve it, whatever we can to look like that, because that is happiness. We don't go, oh, that's healthy. I want to be healthy. I want to be around for my kids. We don't think, I don't think, well, maybe I'm wrong. I don't feel like women go, yeah, that person looks really healthy and I want to be that way. They just go, oh, I want to look perfect.
Yeah. You know what? But you're right. It's like, if that's the goal, if the goal is that happiness, that's where I think it could change, is if we start being happy today with what we have. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think, because we've talked about this on this podcast before, is talking about, you know, focusing on the things we don't have versus focusing on the things we do have. So I think that the way maybe we start changing this, because I I think too, like the powers that be above that control all these magazines and things are going to do
Mm-hmm.
whatever they're going to do. But I think the way that we can take control of it and like change it,
Mm-hmm.
maybe just even for ourselves, is if we start to be happy today. Like today, now, however my body looks, however my muffin top is hanging right now, because it
Mm-hmm.
is, like, and just like literally looking at like the bumps. And I know it's hard. It's not like it's an easy thing to do to look at, especially if your body has changed, let's say from 5, 10 years ago or what have you,
Mm-hmm.
or, post baby or whatever. And it is hard. It's not easy, but I guess it's literally looking at yourself in the mirror and just being like, you know what? I love this knee. It looks knobby or it looks, however it looks.
No, no. It looks like it's, I know, I didn't
It
even think
looks
about my knees until
right.
this year. I was like, why is my knees sagging?
I know, it's just
When
everything,
does
but
that happen?
everything starts to
And it
go
gets
and
worse.
it just gets worse. It gets worse and worse. And it's like things that you just never ever paid attention to before. It's like, oh, like this cheek or this chin, like the
Yeah,
cheeks and
like the
like the
jawline.
jowls. Yes. The jawline's not so tight. And then the
But see, we're
neck.
doing it again. We're saying
See,
that the jaw, like maybe the jawline sagging is good.
I mean, yeah, maybe it is good. Maybe it is, the body that you have has brought you to the place that you are now. And if you're
Mhm.
happy with where you are now, with yourself, with your family, with all the things that really matter,
Mhm.
I think then that's saying something, then that's something that maybe that's where we start honoring our bodies, is saying, you know what? This body has brought me here to where I am today.
Mhm.
I'm generally in a happy place, even though I'm not, I'm 100% happy all the time, all day.
Mhm.
Is just saying like, this body brought me here today and I am happy for that. And
Yeah. Yeah.
just basic, like doesn't even have to be like,
And even if you don't believe it, I think sometimes like you say it so much that you start to believe
yes.
it.
Yes. It's like the manifesting thing that we were talking about. I think it really like repetitive, right?
Can I say a side note? Because I know we don't have that much time, but like, did you
Yes.
see what happened with Mark Cuban?
Oh no, tell me what happened.
I am so in awe of this man. I'm so proud to be around while like so he just launched a company
Okay.
that will give 100 different types of medications for like severe disease or things like cancer.
Uh-huh.
He will give them so like for leukemia medication for
Mhm.
the month that normally costs about $9,000 a month, it's going to be $47 a month.
Oh my God. Is he providing that for
He's
anybody who needs
so
it?
so he's so smart. So what he's
Uh-huh.
done is he started a company. So these medications he can probably get for like I look, I'm just speaking out of my butt, just say like
Yeah.
$20, right? $20 for whatever.
Mhm.
So it's like a little bit above cost. So he's
Okay.
definitely going to be making money. Like he's not like a dummy. He wants to make
Yeah.
money,
Right.
but he's not going to be making the astronomical fees like the pharmaceutical companies. So he's going to get all the medications and then it'll be like a little bit of a markup, but it'll be
Right.
a very small markup. Because I found out that like insulin in the States is $100
Oh
a
yeah.
vial. In Australia, I think it's like $20 a month.
Are you serious? No, you know what? Some of the insulin here, people were not, they couldn't
They
afford
they
it.
they move.
Yeah.
They have to move and try to go
Yeah.
somewhere else because they can't get insulin. It's so disgusting that people are dying because it's like $100 a vial in the States.
Yes, because people are price gouging, like you're saying, and they're trying to
Mm-hmm.
make this profit off of sick people, of all people to try to make a profit off of it in
I
that
know.
way.
It's just, and that's
That's
the one thing
gross.
that look, I don't think any country is perfect,
Right.
but in Australia, it's like $1,000 gets taken out of your taxes
That's
for the year, and like it's all free.
so like if you get sick and go to the pharmacy, let's say to pick up medication, is that comped as well? Or is it yeah.
Out of pocket. It was Sean had to get something for him and the kids. Out of pocket, it was $20.
I mean,
Sean got a scan because we like post-COVID stuff. He got like
right.
a scan just on his body, like a scan going into
Yep.
scan place. Like think about how much that would cost in the States. It
Oh
cost
yeah.
$70 to go get a scan and all the x-rays done and all that kind of stuff.
I mean,
It's
Tammy,
out of
that's
pocket.
did he have to wait to get it done, or was
No.
it something where he
Mm-mm.
could just call and make an
Nope. We just
appointment?
walked in.
Uh,
He went to a doctor here recently because like
Yeah.
he was just making sure he got blood tests and everything.
Right.
It costs like 80 $80 for all of it.
I mean, that is
It's crazy.
insane.
It's so crazy. And look, you pay for it in different
Right.
ways, but I would rather pay for it. So in Australia, you pay for it like sometimes there'll be like on the weekends, there'll be like a surcharge if you go eat out, or like
Uh-huh.
you'll notice that when you go to like Target, it'll be like a couple bucks more, right?
Mhm.
But I kind of think like if you want to go to dinner and you want to go to a fancy dinner, okay, I'll pay an extra $10 to go to a fancy dinner because I chose to go to a dinner.
Right.
But like I should be able to get my kids seen at any doctor at any time. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Like that to me makes sense. Like if you want to put little surcharges on things like, you know,
Yeah.
alcohol's more expensive. Okay.
Yeah.
Like if I have to pay $20 or $10 more to go drink,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But if you're telling me that like if my kid goes into the emergency that they'll be seen straight away and it will cost nothing, that's better for me.
Yes. No, well, healthcare should not be a luxury. It should be, that's
It's
an
not a
essential,
luxury.
that's an essential thing to have.
And it's
like,
funny because we talk about it like paying more taxes, but with a
Mhm.
corporation here, I'm paying pretty much the same. So I don't know.
yeah.
It's an interesting, we don't want to get too deep into this because I know people have different opinions and ideas, but I'm just saying
Mhm.
like it's really nice to be in a place where you don't ever worry about being sick.
That, no,
Even
that
as
is
even
amazing.
as like my kids are still
Yeah.
getting their citizenship and stuff, and they're still foreigners and they could go anywhere. It would not hurt us.
See, I mean, there's something to be said for that because when people are sick, the last thing they want to do is worry about the price of their medication or their treatment or,
Mhm.
because
There's no people in the street.
Yeah.
There's no rubbish. Like you don't see any trash anywhere. I have not yet seen trash on the street. There's no homeless. I've probably seen 2 homeless since I've been in Australia for 7 months, and we've been to all different states.
wow.
I honestly haven't seen any.
You just have killer man-eating insects and varmints and
Everything else will kill you.
Yeah. Who needs you? Exactly.
Yeah, it's like
Just-
probably anyone who wants to be homeless is like, screw that. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna go figure something out because I don't want to be on the street with these spiders.
Like, the homeless people can never contend with the varmints on the street.
Yeah,
All the
we
critters.
do have all that. We have like the 20 deadliest.
Bugs and snakes and
Yeah.
things.
But it is fascinating when you're in another country. You're like,
Yeah.
oh wow, like I love America for
Yeah.
so many reasons. The mentality of like you can literally change your life and make so much money, and that's wonderful.
Mhm.
But sometimes I wonder on the backs of what. And it's important to have a proper minimum wage. Like no one can survive on how much is it, $7-8
Mhm.
an hour? Like you just can't, and there has to be ways to do it that just make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. There has to be ways. I mean, for the quality of life, I mean, there's got to be a better way, but it sounds like Mark Cuban is making
Yep.
a real dent in that because I know
Good
that
for
that's
him. And I think once you
Yeah.
get to like, I think he's worth like how many billion, like 6
Yeah,
billion
I
or something
mean-
like that. Once you're worth that much money, it's like at some point, and I'm sure he does give back, but at some point you have to do something that can change the world. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you have to at some point, because you can't, how many more jets can you buy? Do you know what I mean? Like how can
Right.
I now really make an impact, for people's lives?
Yeah, and he seems like somebody who's grounded as well on top of it. He's really a self-made person and struggled to get where he is. So I think that
Mhm.
like there's value in that he learned along the way,
Mhm. And maybe that's what's going to happen in the States. Like individuals with a lot of
Yeah.
money are going to have to change the system. Like they're
Yeah.
going to be like, okay, if insurance companies won't do it, then single people, like
Yes,
people
and-
who've got billions of
Yeah.
dollars will.
Yeah, I mean, you even you hear about even Bethany Frankel, who started a rescue, like a charity organization where she goes in and helps people in devastated areas like Haiti. And when there's been like a natural disaster, she just goes in, puts her, her contacts together. They fly like usually a private plane.
Mhm.
They're full of supplies to give to people. And it's like people like that, like you're saying, people that have the resources stepping up, singly and doing things. I mean, I think that even goes to our earlier point about really like looking within ourselves and just being like, okay, I love this body, like taking that, like a single person can
Mhm.
change things, you yourself can change things. So it's like, I think it kind of all ties together a little bit, like
Yeah.
don't
yeah.
feel like daunted, like just take one step to make,
Mhm.
your own life better, somebody else's life better. You can do it,
And on that note, we should probably finish the podcast. And on that note, we are done with you all.
Yes. All done.
We're all done. I want to go wash my hair or something.
Oh my God. That's really like very, not
Yeah.
mom like.
Wait, I haven't asked, how's your sex life?
Oh my God. So we had a huge come to
Sex.
Jesus this ties
We had a
in
huge
with
sex
everything.
session.
What happened was this,
You saw Jesus.
you saw Jesus. You saw Jesus in the sex session. We both became vulnerable to each other last week.
And what did you say?
So
I've never heard you be vulnerable even to me. No,
I know,
maybe a little. Not really.
right? No, I think I have somewhat. Or like there's
a little bit.
There's always like that wall up. So we just had like a come to Jesus. Like we just basically we had like a disagreement, and it tied into the whole self-love thing that I was talking about earlier, about how I said to him, you really have to self-love, because we were talking about like the communication problems that we have in our, relationship, and how like we usually just sort of, both shield up and, we kind of create that Teflon wall, and then, we're just sort of, instead of like, really trying to come to an understanding with one another, we just attack each other and throw, F-bombs or, kind of fight back and forth like that. And it really came to a head. And I'm like, we can't do this anymore. Like either we go one way or another, because it's affecting, our daughter, and we really have to make that way. So I think that vulnerability is going to contribute to our much better sex life. Yes. Yes.
I've been having really good sex by accident. So I think that's the key too. Like I just, by not thinking about it, I'm just not like, we've been really in a good place where it's just not like, for me, how sometimes I can, me, Roxy, I can get very like, it's been 4 days. Like,
yes,
what's wrong with me? Why don't you love me? Kind of like that. It hasn't been like that lately. I think because we've been so busy. So it's just been like, hey, do you wanna? Yeah. Do you wanna? Yeah. And then that's like when both people want to, it's great.
Yes. Totally. You know what? Remember, like we were talking about the manifestation thing, and the thing you sent me earlier today, when you're looking for something that isn't there, that's operating out of, not having it. Yep. So what you're doing is right then, just letting it happen as it is.
That's been wonderful. It's been great. I don't even know, which is great. Like I usually am like, oh, it's been 4 days, 5 days. I don't even know, which is like, great. I don't know. I know it's been recent, but I can't remember the days, which I think is healthy.
Yes. Yes. Instead of it like being like calendar reminder, like that's totally true. Like letting it happen as it is.
Well, till next time. We have so many great guests this year, guys. Please keep listening. I mean, so many wonderful experts, so many great actresses. It's just going to be great this year. We need to manifest that tour, and I'm going to go off this podcast and start making some calls to my future.
I love it. 2022 is looking bright.
Amazing, guys. Thank you so much. We love you. And don't forget to rate, subscribe, and
comment.
I am Tammin Sursock. Oh no, what? No. Instagram. Fuck, it's been a while. Instagram is Women on Top Official.
And Facebook is Women on Top Podcast. And don't forget our Clubhouse group, Women on Top.
Amazing. And we're going to start doing some stuff on there. Yes. I am Tammin Sursock.
And I am Roxy Manning.
And we are Women on